What's up, guys? John here. What's unfolding in October of 2025 is what every American needs to pay very close attention to, because this is about to go into effect, into law, that will change lending and bank accounts in this country. Now, banks make a lot of money by issuing overdraft fees, these $35 junk fees they call them.
It's another way to pull in more revenue without really competing.
Junk fees, in addition, that companies charge cost Americans tens of billions of dollars.
And what this is when someone has $100 in the bank, they take out $200 more than they have, the bank will issue them a fee of $35. Well, now, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that's all going to change, and they're going to slash these fees by 80%, and now banks can only charge a $5 fee.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau would cap those fees at $5.
Banks can opt to charge $5 for overdrafts.
Now, if you were a bank and you had a borrower that were overdrafting their accounts, would you lend them $100 or $200 for a $5 possible upside? The answer, probably not. And so what I believe is going to happen is banks are going to get much more careful with whom they open accounts for and maintain active accounts for. As this is unfolding, President Trump is working on a 10% credit card cap on interest rates.
President-elect Donald Trump's proposal to cap credit card interest rates at 10%.
We're going to put a temporary cap on credit card interest rates at 10%.
This all may sound great. Americans might say this is great for consumers because, look, bank junk fees are going to be going down and interest rates on credit cards are going to be going down. But what they don't tell you is that Americans in the top 100 metros in America, 29.6% of them are behind on at least one bill as of September 30th of last year. I would argue that U.S. consumers are in a worse spot today than they were a year ago. And these default rates are going to continue to climb. So if you're a credit card company or a bank, would you want to extend money or loans or risk to these consumers that are showing bad habits? The answer, probably not. My prediction is we're going to see a credit crunch for consumers, many of them, coming very soon. And I think the rich are going to get a lot richer in this inflationary environment because of all these changes. Banks make money by lending money, and they're going to be chasing these top 5% of U.S. consumers and Americans that have higher net worths, that have cash in the bank, assets, good credit. They're going to be chasing these consumers to lend money to them. And the other consumers that are high risk, it's going to be very hard to get by. And when you look at the U.S. economy, essentially it's a house of cards. You borrow money from Paul to pay Peter. Well, if Paul doesn't want to lend you money, Peter doesn't get paid. The auto loan doesn't get paid. The home equity line of credit doesn't get paid. These other things don't get paid. So I think we're walking into a massive wealth transfer. In today's video, I'm going to break it down and give you the facts. Please hit the like button. When you do, YouTube will share the content, educate more people about what's going on in the U.S. economy. And if you're thinking about investing into possibly Section 8 real estate, guaranteed rents by the federal government, there's a lot of really, really great opportunities right now that the returns are absolutely incredible compared to nearly everywhere else in the country. And if you'd like to learn more, you can click the link in the description just below this video if you have $100K or more that you're considering to invest. I mean, it's this situation is ramping up so fast. Look at this. Since the beginning of 2024, 3 in 10 Americans, 31%, said they've missed at least one monthly payment on a bill because of a financial reason, and not because they forgot to make the payment. So 31%, what many people don't realize is if you have a late payment on your credit report, it can drop your credit score up to 180 points.
Cause I have $30,000 in credit card debt. When they call, I tell them I can't pay it back yet. Credit card debt.
So you could have a 700 credit score, and then boom, you're at 600, you're at 580. And then at that point, it completely derails your financial goals of getting a mortgage or doing anything. So you think about how big of a number that is. 31%, if you're in a coffee shop and there's 100 people there, 1 in 3, right? 30 people have a late payment just from the last year. It's a horrible situation. 7 years it'll stay in your credit report, right? So if you have one of these, if you have late payments, derogatories, medical bills, anything like that in your credit report, go to greatcreditfast.com, click the link in the description just below this video, schedule a free strategy session. It's a disaster. I mean, look at this. Consumers Financial facing all-time high APR margins on credit cards. Now, what I find very fascinating with what President Trump suggested of a 10% credit card interest rate is that these credit card companies, they're not under usury laws. They could charge any interest rate they want. Just look at retail credit cards. They're charging 35.99% interest. So if you were to borrow $10,000 to make the minimum payments, you'd pay back over $70,000 in just interest, and it would take you more than 2 decades to pay off the card. Right? These credit card companies are in business to make a ton of money, and no one's getting in the way of that.
This is business.
If hypothetically they could bring interest rates down to 10%, the credit card companies would be in severe financial problems because one in 3 not paying back right now. You have in top metro areas 29.6% of Americans unable to pay back. It would be a disaster for these credit card companies. These credit card companies have more power than almost any entity out there. Right? No one's getting in their way. I would bet any amount of money on that. They're not bringing interest rates down to 10%. According to most recent data, around 77% of American households have some form of consumer debt, meaning a significant majority of Americans carry at least one type of debt like credit card, student loans, or auto loans. So imagine these lines of credit start to dry up. It's going to be an absolute wealth transfer to which we've never before. It's going to make 2008 look like nothing. It would be a major shift in residential real estate, a major shift in acquiring businesses, a major shift in literally everything, because this entire economy is built on borrowing. And if these credit card companies, financial institutions stop lending money, where they're much more careful, it's going to be an opportunity for those that are prepared. And if you have internet connection right now, maybe you think, look, I'm not prepared. I got bad credit. I got a lot of debt. I'm just in a bad situation, John. You have internet connection watching this video, you could literally learn anything. You could learn anything online. You can build out a team. Go to Upwork. You could hire great employees. Go to Fiverr. Go to any of these. You could hire great employees. You could find people to help you build something at a very, very, very low cost. If you have the ambition, you could spend an hour, 2 hours a night learning something. Within 60 to 90 days, I'm sure you can make some money with it, right? If you put in a lot of effort. And with this internet connection, you get people in India, people in Pakistan, people in different countries that before 10 or 15 years ago, their opportunities, it was either you were born into money or it was really hard to kind of change your circumstance. Now you got people all over the world making millions and millions of dollars every single month. You got kids making millions on TikTok Shop.
I'm rich, bitch!
If you really want it, you'll find a solution. You'll find a way out of it. Right? My new card has lower credit card limit than I expected. This is another thing I'm betting on. These companies are just going to continue clamping down on consumers. November 26, 2024. Your credit limit, that is the maximum amount available for you to spend using a credit card, is usually a mystery until after you get approved for a new credit card. Therefore, it's understandable that you may be grappling with disappointment if you qualified for a lower credit limit than you hoped for or needed on your credit card. Now, we've been getting calls recently at Great Credit Fast saying, look, I missed a payment and they slashed my limit to the exact amount that I owe because of one issue, right? This is what's happening. Now, my prediction is if this does go into effect, October 1st, 2025 is when they say this is going to take place. And this is going to hit all banks with 10 billion in assets or more, which is basically all the big ones. If this happens, we could see a slow grinding halt on loans probably the next six to 9 months. Like, it's going to continue to get harder and harder and harder to get funding and financing. That's why right now, I believe the next 2 to 5 years, it'll be the easiest and best opportunity to build wealth.
Hello, I like money.
And after that, I believe corporations, or during this entire period, corporations are going to be getting bigger and stronger and investing more and more and more of their depreciating currency into hard real assets. And they're going to get bigger and bigger. And as that happens, it's going to get harder to be able to buy this inventory from them, right? Once they get their hands on it, like right now in the real estate market, it might be Mike selling his property to Sally, right? Well, in 5 years, it might be Blackstone selling it to Facebook, right? It's going to be like this major shift. And as that happens, you just want to make sure you're investing along the way and you're preparing for it. I would bet anything that this is kind of the direction that we're heading in right now. When they say that the middle class is disappearing, If their funding and their lines of credit continue to get pulled and it gets harder for them, look at household income. Household income is going down. If household income is going down, inflation is going up, and the cost to borrow money is going up, the only thing to give is living standards, right? That's the only thing left to give. And that's what I think a lot of people are seeing right now. We're hearing about a lot of Americans doing buy now, pay later for groceries, hearing of people skipping meals. We're starting to hear about this. This was something you would hear about in like a third world country. People talk about, skipping meals, and you'd hear about this as a child, don't let that meal go to waste. There's kids starving in Africa. Well, now in America, people are skipping meals. I'm not saying people are starving, but I'm saying people are definitely struggling today compared to how they were, several years ago. And that trend's going to continue to, I believe, grow. So this is a big opportunity for those that have motivation and ambition to learn, to go out there and make something, happen, and a massive, massive opportunity to invest. MetLife Insurance, they have a skyscraper in Manhattan. I was walking with my wife about 2.5 weeks ago, and I saw MetLife Insurance, and I'm like, oh, MetLife. I remember they made a quote, a prediction about real estate, and their prediction was that 40% of all homes in America would be owned by institutions, by investors. 40%, right? 40% in the next 5 years. It's basically an 800% increase from where it is right now. So as this is all starting to happen, you can see what's going to unfold, in the middle class, right? It's going to be this big shift. And when you see what corporations have done in the past, look at private equity, buying dental offices, buying, HVAC companies. As they start to roll all these companies up, what do? They cut the fat, they reduce expenses, they make them more profitable, and they make them worse for, many would argue, worse for, a lot of their customers. The same thing will be happening, I believe, in housing with a lot of, rentals. Costs are just going to continue to go up, and you're going to pay out the teeth for everything, right? Everything is going to get more and more expensive. So if you're ambitious, you'll make a lot of money. And if you ignore this, I think in a year or so you'll regret it, because it's going to get harder to get access to liquidity unless you're a really, really, really strong borrower. And many people could be. Many people could be with 6 months worth of focus. They can clean up their credit, they can get their finances in order, they can start an online business, or they can scale at their current business or their current employer. They can do a lot. You can do a lot inside of 6 months. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think we're going to see these overdraft fee limits actually hit? You think we're going to see credit card interest rates get capped at 10%? Do you think the American middle class is going to have a harder time getting access to liquidity? I know for a fact, if I were a credit card company, and I'm looking at 31% of Americans behind on bills and 29.6% last year in the top 100 metros, I wouldn't lend money at a very low interest rate because I'd go out of business. I'd have to lend money at a higher interest rate. The more people that default, I have to continue to increase my interest rate to offset my losses. Let's have a conversation below. And if you're interested in investing in Section 8 real estate, you'd like to learn more about cash flow guaranteed rents from the federal government. I don't see guaranteed lightly. This is what they say. It's a guaranteed rent check from the federal government. And I believe the government will just continue to print money, into oblivion. So I think the odds of not getting paid by the government are very, very, very slim. If you're interested in learning about Section 8 real estate, we'd love to have a conversation with you. You can book a call with me at Single Family Investors. And if you're interested in fixing your credit, you can go to greatcreditfast.com. That's greatcreditfast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any derogatory or negative items in your credit report, go to greatcreditfast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. I'll catch you guys next video.